Hello, hello, hello. Today on Motley Thoughts, it's actually going to be a little bit different. I was given this idea from a friend to have on people that were famous in other professions, such as actors and musicians. But what people didn't know about them is that they were goaltenders on the side, if you will. Secret passion for being a goalie. So I thought, wow, that's a really cool idea. So we got a list together of some people, and hopefully we can get them on to share their stories and whatnot, and just kind of see where the conversation goes. So it'll still be a very much a Motley Thoughts type of episode, kind of just seeing where it goes, but it'll have a neat twist. Who knows? I might even give him a tip or two. So here you go, man. Motley Thoughts, first edition of the Secret Society of Psychotic Goalies. All right, today's guest is my first for the Secret Society of Psychotic Goalies. He is an actor by profession, fellow Canadian, born and raised right here in the Lower Mainland, Vancouver, I think Port Moody to be exact. He is most known for his role in the television series Corner Gas as Hank Yarbo. But aside from his acting endeavors, I have been told he is a closet goalie geek, a fellow goalie union bro. So let's get this started and see where it goes. I'm super stoked to welcome actor and mediocre beer league goaltender, Fred Ewanuick. And I don't know if I said that right, buddy.
No, you didn't, which is good because it's like we were talking earlier. It's come up and on me because I said your name wrong. So
okay,
yeah.
How do I say it?
Ewanuick.
Ewanuick.
Ewanuick. I know it's like it's spelt like Ewan. Like like if you read it, like my dad. So my dad went to. Oh no, I'm gonna forget if it was is it Vernon? No, I think it's Vernon, where his family kind of came from, and moved to Lower Mainland like well before he was in existence. But he went back up there, or was it Oliver? I can't remember. Somewhere in the interior.
Okay.
Oh no, that was his grandpa's name, Oliver. Anyway, and so he tried, and apparently like the Ewanuicks that were there say it different and spell it different than the Ewanuicks that moved to the Lower Mainland. So I don't know if there's like a riff in the Ewanuicks somewhere. So somebody told him and says, "You're saying it wrong," and but never really said how they say it. Anyway, so because there's a U in there, which is you don't say.
Right.
Ewanuick. So the U, we don't know why the U's there. You don't say it. It's Ewanuick. And then EWA is usually like you people want to say Ewan.
Yeah.
So I get like Ewanuick, all this stuff, and it's like, yeah, okay. And so I'm always like blown away. Like every once in a while, somebody will come up. Is it Ewanuick? I'm like, yeah. How did you? It's amazing.
Really.
I got introduced once as Jeff Ewanuick Jeff Ewanuick at an award show here local, and I was like, wow, that's just way off.
That's different.
How do you screw up Fred? I don't know.
I've had some weird ones too. We were talking about it earlier, right back in the days of junior. When I first would do interviews and stuff, they would just butcher it, and Imoo. It never ever was said right, but Imoo is the most common, and I just let it roll because you can only say it so many times and repeat how it's supposed to be pronounced. So
how's it supposed to be pronounced?
Emo. Yeah.
It's so emo. Why is it?
Well,
yeah, because emo would be spelled EM like EMU. So why do I even get emo? Is it because
the two O's people think it's oo, but in Japanese, phonetically, everything's said phonetically. So O's is just too long O, like O. Mm-hmm. And anyways, the people butcher it all the time. It kind of stuck though, because people would chant moo or some, maybe it was boo, I don't know, but they would like to call me Emu, and so I just let it fly.
Right. It never bothered me as long as the checks got to the right place. I didn't really I don't care.
So for the people that don't know, the whole idea behind this was pitched to me from a friend, Kevin Woodley from In Gold Magazine. We were just brainstorming. He was, talking about my podcast and kind of how I was doing it, and he really thought it was cool, the types of people I was having on. But he just said, you should have some celebs that are actors or musicians or whatever that play goal and beer league goalies, and that would be a cool twist. And I thought, yeah, that's a cool idea. So I didn't really have anyone at the top of my head, and he said, I know someone. And how do you know Kevin?
I guess just from it might have been at one of the goalie attendee fests that the hockey shop puts on.
Okay.
Now I think of it, might have been one of those where I actually got introduced to him. And I'm probably annoying to him because like I go to before this COVID stuff, I'd be at the hockey shop. Like Cam at the hockey shop probably rolls his eyes when I walk in, right? Because I just sit there and I spend like an hour and a half just like trying every mitt, every blocker, flexing every stick, like I know what I'm doing. So it's probably one of those because he keeps saying, he's like, oh yeah, we'll have you on In Goal, the podcast. I'm like, oh okay, I'm still waiting. He's never had me on his podcast, so because I'm just like itching to talk goalie.
Yeah.
So I can't remember the exact thing, but I think it was just through that. And he even, I think I was bugging. Oh, I think this was it. I was bugging him to be a tester because they used to do all the reviews on the website, the web page before all the new stuff they're doing now, which is pretty awesome. And so finally he's like, yeah, okay. And I met him at his place. He opened the garage, which was just like a candy store of gear. Like it's like all this stuff. I'm like, oh my God. And he gave me some stuff to try, and he sent me home with it. But it was all, I'm just a little fella, and it was all like, I was just swimming in all this stuff that he gave me. And I was like, he's like, how's the gear? I was like, I don't know, I can't move in it. It's massive. He's like, yeah, we don't usually get stuff for little kids. So I don't get to, because I'd love to test new stuff coming out. Like at one of those Tendy Fests, actually, I got to talking with Pete Smith of Warrior.
Yep.
And we sat there on the floor. It must have been like an hour and a half went by, and he was just a wicked dude. Just answered all my stupid questions, and we had a good conversation. He was a good guy, and I just love like goalies, like anything goalie. It was just
that's cool. He's the guy for sure as far as gear is concerned. He has the in to everything that's coming out. That's out.
Yeah.
And it's amazing for someone that didn't play professionally or anything or high level, but his passion, it's crazy about what he knows about goaltending for not having played at a serious level. It's pretty cool. He's a great guy too. He's super busy. It's funny because I have to kind of fit into his schedule to talk to him. He's got so much going on, but because I think he also he covers the Canucks too with NHL.com, and
he's that's
so he's at the rink for all the games and everything.
See, that's to me that I don't know. Like I keep trying to rack my brain how to pay the bills around something to do with goaltending. Like when I was a kid, I used to design my own goalie gear. Like I thought I'd be a goalie. Oh yeah, and all that. It hasn't been in the cards. I don't know. Too dumb, I guess.
So as I was saying about Kevin, so he introduced this idea about bringing on guys that played goalie secretly. Because quite honestly, the name I just kind of gave it that secret society of psychotic goalies.
I like it
because in truth, anyone that hears you play goal, like for these people that just play goal on the side, it's like, really? Like, why would you do that? And I thought it would be a really cool thing. So he brought up your name, and he put me through to you. And the idea that you're an actor by trade and profession, that you play goal, and what made it even more cool is you're actually from here. And you're like a year, just almost 1 year to the date younger than me. I looked it up. You're June of 71. I'm
Yeah.
July 70. So
Oh, really? Oh,
I
wow.
thought, you know, not tooting my own horn, but back in the day, at that around growing up through junior and stuff, my name, I thought he might even know who I am. Not sure, but I thought he might even know who I am if he was a hockey guy back when he was a kid as well. And you were mentioning it on the phone before we got on the pod here that you thought maybe you did remember my name somehow or
Well,
something.
I don't, not growing up,
Right.
but when he mentioned your name, I knew right away who he was talking about, just from like, I guess just being in the community world, like you get you get
Yeah.
names and things kind of fall
Yeah.
through your existence. That's not the right word, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I knew exactly who he was talking about. I knew he was talking about you, and I knew a bit about your story, but I didn't know as much. Like I didn't realize you played in the Olympics and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
Yeah, which is, I'm not jealous one bit about that. And then, so yeah, and then when I realized that you were from, well, it says New West, but you weren't from New West,
No.
right? No, yeah. And I was like, oh God, he's like local too. Like,
Yeah.
I was pretty, so you're right. I grew up in Port Moody, and Port Moody, it sounds stupid to say now because Port Moody, everything's connected in the lower mainland, but
Yeah.
Port Moody, when I was growing up, was tiny.
Yeah.
And it was like, it felt really isolated. The Barnett at the time was, it felt like you were out in the boonies.
Yeah.
And even though like Poco and Coquitlam were like kind of right there, you're all surrounded by bush. Like it was all bush. Like,
Right.
I think the population of Port Moody when I was going through school was like 5,000. Like it was small.
Really.
And yeah, and now it's like it's hitting, I don't know what it is, but it's up around 60. Like the whole area is just exploded, right?
It's beautiful
So
out there.
it is. It's a hindsight looking back. It was a great place to grow up, but as a kid, you just like, I got to get out of this.
Yeah. I remember as a kid in playing minor hockey. I remember, and I played for North Surrey. I remember when we had to play Port Moody. It was like it felt literally like you're going to some secluded place that wasn't even part of anything.
Yeah, I know. It was like it was a hole. Like I think like it's literally like a geographical, like it's surrounded by mountains and hills, and it is like this little bowl of. It was. I mean, I'm proud of it now. Like I loved growing up there, and I'm, looking when you hear kind of horror stories of people growing up and stuff, and like not that Port Moody was a saint place to grow up, like, but I was lucky. I had a good group of friends, and you kind of, maybe because of sports, you kind of, it was a bit of a community, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So I like I said, you kind of wanted to get out of there as a kid, but when you look back, you're like, man, that was a pretty wicked, childhood. Like
the where I was raised, it was kind of, as we mentioned, how everything down here is kind of together. So I used to just, when I left to play junior and then on through pro, I always said I was from Vancouver.
Oh yeah,
this is true. You kind of are.
It is kind of. I think you know what? I think I say that too. Like
I just say Vancouver because then if I were to say Wally or Surrey, people are like,
oh, there is a different. There is something pops in your mind when you're from. You're from. Oh,
yeah. It might be dying now. I don't know as far as that, but for years and years, if you said you're even from Surrey and didn't even mention Wally, people were like, "Oh, really? Like you're from Compton or somewhere?"
Yeah, it still exists because even today, like if you meet somebody that lives in South Surrey, they'll say, "Oh, I live in White Rock," and and like back in the day, it was just Surrey. If you were from Surrey, you're trouble, right?
Yeah.
And now no, it's Wally. Wally's the problem,
right?
Like So.
Well, it's funny because I bought a house in '99 or 2000 in White Rock as soon as I could afford to get out.
Oh yeah,
and we would come back in the summers after hockey season and stay stay here in White Rock, and then we've since moved just out, because White Rock actually is quite small. So now we're in quote unquote South Surrey, but it's funny because why would you say South Surrey? Well, because people don't want to be associated
Yeah,
with the rest of
I know it's
Surrey.
weird. I
It's
think
pretty
it's
stuck up that way over here.
yeah. A good buddy of mine, he grew up in Surrey, and I think he's got a little bit of the complex about it. He's a little touchy about
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
He
No,
goes,
it's so,
oh, that
hey,
doesn't.
it's the
Yeah.
norm here.
Yeah.
It's,
Well, Port Moody was, I don't think anybody even thought of Port Moody back then, but um, I was just thinking of that Barnett. I remember it happened a few times, and I don't know if it was the salt because there was a sulfur mill. I think it's still there, and then there's the petroleum plants on either side of the inlet,
uh-huh.
and it happened at least two times where people would be driving home on the Barnett, which was only one lane either way back then, just passing out at the wheel. Like it's just these leaks would happen every once in a while, and I can't remember where they were happening from, but yeah, back then. Port Moody was a weird place.
Yeah.
It was cool, kind of backcountry kind of place.
So did you play your minor hockey? Did you play minor hockey and stuff?
Yeah, I played. Yeah, all Port Moody, all through.
All through?
I started a bit late. I started in Bantam, but I was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to be a goalie, and I could barely skate when I wanted to start, and then so they sent me to Pee Wee. So I actually started a level below what I was supposed to be.
Right.
And so I started in Pee Wee, but it was actually Bantam. But then when I moved up, it evened out by the time I got to midget and all that stuff. And I played lacrosse there too. So I played hockey winter, lacrosse in the summer.
Oh, cool.
And then, and then I quit. Well, I actually buggered up my leg. That's why I stopped. I buggered up my leg when I was 20. And then I didn't play. Then I didn't play again until like I was in my 30s.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, like early. Yeah, I was probably just 30.
Well, that's cool. That's were you
Yeah.
just missing it and itching to?
No, I wasn't really missing it. Somebody came up to me and they were, so my mom had a coffee shop in Port Moody and I was working there, and one of the customers, he's like, hey, your mom said you used to play goal. We need a guy tonight. Our guy can't play, and I still had like my old gear in the house, and I was like, oh, I don't know. He's like, no, come on, please. It's really low level. It'll be all right. It'll be all right. And I was like, all right. And like, honest to God, as soon as I stepped on the ice, like the bug hit me again. And I was like,
that's cool.
I was like, why did I stop playing? I don't know.
Well,
I know it's different because we talked on the phone earlier. I know it's different for like pros like you. Like it's like it boggles my mind. Like when I hear guys like Kirk McLean and they don't want to play goal anymore. And I'm like, wow, why? But you were so good. Like, why do you want to keep playing? But,
yeah, you'd be hard. Like I told you earlier, you'd be hard pressed to find goalies that played pro after they're retired keep playing just for fun. Like I play now if the team I'm working for needs someone in for practice or something like that. But every time I get people asking to play, in a beer league or come out for shinny hockey, and I
I don't like shinny even I don't even like shinny as a beer leaguer.
Shinny is the demon for goalies.
I know. It's like, well, you get lots of shots. Like,
yeah, no, not shots. It's like pass, shot.
No D.
Everyone's like, God, I'm good.
Yeah. Like that's I follow a bunch of these guys like on Instagram, like the Hey Barber guy.
Oh yeah.
You know him? Like he's and he's a super nice guy. I've met him a couple times.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, but I'm like, dude, try that with a 6'2", 200-pound defenseman coming down on you. You're not doing that stuff in a game. Like it drives me nuts, and they're making these goalies look like idiots. And I'm like, I just want to smack them.
I will say this: if you look at it, everything from the outside and how it's gone over the years, it's amazing when the game transitions. What now they're able to do. Like some of these things that years ago you saw on, like, say, someone doing it on their own, they'll never do that in the game. Like there's certain things now that people are doing in games, like that one from behind the net.
The lacrosse goal.
Yeah, like
Yeah, Hoglander's done it a couple
right,
times.
like
Not in the NHL yet, but
well now like there's the guy from the Canes has done it multiple times, and it's you would never have thought that anybody would even have tried that years ago,
yeah.
right? But they're just getting better at shit. It's pretty scary. It's actually insane. It's a bit of a different game. It's not what I'm used to as far as growing up is concerned. But man, these kids are talented now.
That McDavid, and I know he's done it on multiple occasions, but just recently, was it again? Who'd they just play? It was Toronto when he
Yeah,
went end to end to end.
yeah,
Just ridiculous. It's like that's not even fair.
Bobby Orr type shit.
I have issue with the lacrosse style goal in hockey.
Yeah,
Because like, okay, so if you follow through and hit a guy with your stick, it's considered follow through, and it's like a bit gray area. If you hit a guy in the head with your stick on a
right.
follow through, it's kind of like, wow, it's follow through. But to me, that's kind of a dangerous play. You coming around, if you miss and you get your stick all tied up in that goalie cage, that sounds like an eye popping out to me. To me, that's a dangerous play. I don't like it one bit.
That's the goalie union talk right there.
I don't like it one bit.
It makes us look stupid too. That doesn't
If they're
help.
allowed to do that, then your D-man should be allowed to cross check them in the chops. I think like that should be all right. Okay, if you can get it done, but if a guy
Yeah.
can get to you before you get that puck in the net, you're free game.
Yeah. Well, hey, there's some things now like that the way the kids play because of the rules now that they're allowed to just kind of freely do whatever they want. Like when you protect pucks now, people turn their back, don't worry about getting hit anymore, right?
Right.
So I don't know. I'm a bit in between. I'm full on support to, protect the brain and eliminate concussion. Well, hope guard the protect against concussions, but there also is that bit where you need to be prepared defense wise, and
Right.
the way the rules now are, these kids can just kind of freely do all this kind of shit and not ever worry about actually getting smacked.
Right.
So yeah, I'd agree with you a little bit on that one for sure.
And but hey, to like go the other way as well. Like I've always said, like get rid of the trapezoid, and if a goalie's out there playing the puck,
Yeah,
like yeah, have at him. Like
yeah,
like put him on his ass. Like if
I
like
agree.
I'm all for it. Like
If it's a clean hit, right? Just
yeah, if it's a clean hit, like
yeah,
don't go head hunting. But I don't know.
yeah,
I've always felt that like like yeah, okay, give it a go, but you're free game.
yeah. Either way, like you want to
Yeah.
hit the goalie, then you're
And
probably
like,
going.
and your D man got to be on board too. It's like, hey, man, you're out there playing the puck. Like, if you're in your crease, yeah, I'll protect you. But dude, you're
Yeah.
wandering out there like a, you know what?
Well, I don't know where it's going, but the game has definitely changed. There's lots of good to it, but
Oh, it's definitely. I like the move towards skill. I do.
yeah,
And I never like all those. God, a while back I was watching a bit of the old '94 series between the Canucks and Rangers,
mm,
and it was brutal. Like the stick work and the like just the hits
yeah,
after the play and like just like out of nowhere the stuff Messier was doing to Linden was just like I'm like, oh my god, like and like I remember being into it, like yeah, like that's like
yeah.
gladiator kind of stuff. Um
Oh, it's
I
insane. If you watch, if you, I did a similar thing, and I watched one like the Edmonton Flyers, like in the early '80s, I want to say.
Edmonton Flyers, what was that the W what was
No,
that?
no, no, Edmonton
Oh,
and the
the
Flyers.
series
Yeah, the
Edmonton.
series.
I'm
Yeah,
like,
no,
I don't remember the Edmonton Flyers.
no, Edmonton against the Flyers with Hexy,
Oh,
and I watched. It was, I think it was the final, and it, you watch those series, and if you go back even further, but like that one I'm watching, I'm like, there's a penalty every 15 seconds.
right. That's
Like
crazy.
the whole game is a penalty. It's like everybody's hooking and holding and slashing and punching and elbowing. It goes on and on and on. It's actually quite comical when you sit through a game and just kind of watch for penalties. See, you can't. There's too many. It's
Right.
hilarious how much the game has changed. And you know what? Part of it I get. I like the idea. There isn't as much hooking and holding, and so the speed, you see more of the speed. But I guess what came along with that is then the open ice hits got harder and people are getting
Right.
more.
Oh, and they're like, guys are monsters now. They're like massive.
Oh, they're
And they're
specimens.
fast. Like they're just crazy. Like,
Well,
have you ever seen that? It was, I saw it on YouTube. I don't know when they made it, but it was a Hextall tribute video that they made. I guess they were saluting him in one of the Flyers games. And so they made like this Megatron, this big screen.
yeah.
Oh my, it's crazy. Like he's
Oh, yeah.
literally chasing guys around the ice, like literally chasing them around the ice, and you can see the fear in guys' faces.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, he was a whole other level.
He was one of my favorites as a kid.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, he just, yeah, he was awesome.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, that was one of my questions. I told you earlier, I'm not a reporter by any stretch, so I don't have a lot of anything prepared, if anything.
That's good. I don't have anything prepared either.
But I did have a question. Do you have, a few idols, people that you loved growing up watching as goaltenders?
Oh yeah. I wanted to be a goalie because of Richard Brodeur.
Yeah.
So yeah,
The King.
King Richard. He's the reason I wanted to be a goalie. And then I've always been like, whoever the Canuck goalie was my favorite goalie at the time. Like, but on top of that, and I never got to see Tony Esposito play live, like, or on TV or anything,
right?
Or I don't remember anyway. But for some reason, I had this fascination with Tony Esposito. Like, did you collect hockey cards when you were a kid?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So like, I would never trade a Tony Esposito card. Like I would trade, and all due respect to Ken Dryden, I'm pretty sure I gave away a Ken Dryden rookie card. Because like, oh yeah, you can have Ken Dryden. How about your Tony? No, you can't have Tony Esposito. I don't know why. Like it just like stuck to me. And Mike Liut was a big one, mostly because of the mask. Like
I was going to say, we're both the same age, so the masks for me were the thing.
Yeah.
That was
so Tony Esposito, Mike Liut, Ron Hextall. I hated Billy Smith with a passion because of the Canucks. I just hated him. And now when I look back, I'm like, yeah, Billy Smith was pretty cool actually. And then
you want to talk about crazy, like
Billy Smith?
Oh yeah,
like
His was actually Hexy more outwardly like looked crazier. He did crazy things like chased you down and stuff. But like Billy Smith was dirty. Like
there was a play. I remember it's like I didn't see it live, but where I guess he got sick of Gretzky behind the net.
Yeah.
So Gretzky went from one side to the other, and Smith just like he's doing the poke check, full length of the stick, and just swung around the net and just like lumbered him, like just crazy. And then of course, melee happened after.
I learned one from him, and I did it for years, and it's kind of weird because I'm known now as a coach being really the Zen master, chill person, very calm. My demeanor, my voice, even they think I'm just this mild guy. Well, when I played, there was a whole nother outside to me, and especially when I was younger, I really leaned towards the Hexy side of things and used the aggression and emotion, and I would slash and break sticks all day long on people and take penalties. And one thing I took from Billy Smith, he used to take the knob of his stick, and when guys would come around try to wrap, he'd come around and he would lead with the knob of his stick. So if by chance you were coming around nice and low,
right,
you might take a knob right into the face.
It's crazy to think like that now. Like that's just crazy.
Totally.
But back then you had to. That was the game, right? Like I just played minor hockey and stuff. But I was a pretty timid kid growing up.
Right.
But if anybody was in my crease, I was told that's fair game. Like you hack them on the laces, hit their ankles, like whatever you got to do. Blocker to the lower back. If anybody was screening me, like I'd give them. I got suspended my first year back in beer league because I gave the guy the blocker, and like I didn't know it was a rule. I was like, "What? He was in my crease." It's like you can't punch a guy with your blocker. He was in my crease.
So right now, where are you living? You're not in Port Moody now, are you? Or you
No,
said you're an East fan?
yeah, I'm an East fan. My folks, it wasn't, it's a few years now, but they sold the place I grew up in 4 or 5 years ago, and they moved out to Langley. So,
Okay.
and I've been an East fan, geez, more over 20 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So right now, we haven't talked at all about your career
Oh, that's all right.
no, I'm actually I'm interested. We get rambling about goalie stuff, and we could go on
Yeah,
for hours.
sorry.
No,
I'm all excited. I was all excited about, because usually when I do stuff, it's like talk about the acty schmacky stuff.
yeah.
And
I would like to know though, like, because just especially more right now, it interests me because I'm affected in our field of entertainment and in sports entertainment. I can only imagine you must be affected as well with what's going on. You mentioned earlier before the podcast, you're doing some trying to do some voice work, just trying to keep yourself busy. What are you up to right now as far as you work?
well, the paying gig is still Corner Gas, if you can believe it. Like we started doing an animated version. We're in fourth season now, or
Oh, that's
yeah,
so
fourth
cool.
season. Yeah, so it's great. Like, um, that's been kind of I've sort of the last, I don't know, 5 years or so. I've been I kind of got one foot out the door. I feel this draw to kind of do something else.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's what I was joking. Like, I would love to, I don't know. I have no, I don't know where I would fit in the goalie world, but I would love to work in that field. Like, whether it be like, unfortunately, there's no manufacturers out here. Like,
Right.
I would love to go and work, like, say, for, I don't know, any Vaughn or Brian, anybody,
Right.
like building gear that would be a cool gig to me. Um, so I've kind of,
That's cool.
I tried, a buddy of mine's a goalie coach out here, and I got to know a couple other goalie coaches, and uh, um, and so I wasn't coaching goalies, but I was out on the ice running stations and stuff for a little while just for fun,
Mhm.
help a guy out, and I like that, but, like, I don't have the expertise to actually train a goalie, right? But,
Right.
like, being in that world was, I really, I like, that's, to me, is like, well, what could I do outside of acting? Because I love what I do, but it's kind of a weird business. It's not stable,
Yeah.
and and it's weird because in Canada, uh, I'm really great. The career I've had has been fantastic. Like, it's bought me a lot of um, comforts, and I'm not
Yeah.
like friends rich by any means, but I've got a little bit of a nest egg in RSPs, and
Right.
we were able to afford to buy a home. We were
Right.
lucky when we got in, and other circumstances that kind
Right.
of made it fortunate. Um, so I'm grateful for what it's given me. But in Canada, it's weird. Like, you never really, if you stay in Canada, you're never going to make enough to live off of
Right.
for the rest of your days, right? Like, it's just you're constantly in the grind. So you'll be in the grind for the rest of your life if you stay in the business. If you're just focusing on one thing,
Right.
um, and it's been to get into other areas of the business for me hasn't been as successful. Like, um, trying to create my own projects and that sort of thing. Have
Right.
mild success here and there, but haven't really been able to get my foot in the door. So it feels like, whatever you want to believe in, God or the universe or whatever it is kind of, hey, buddy, it's time for you to move on and do
Pushing you in a
something.
different
Yeah.
direction.
And the frustrating thing is I can't settle my brain on what that next thing
Right.
is. I love voice work. Um, and so the fact that Corner Gas has gone into the animated world is it's just awesome. Like, I absolutely love everything about it. Even, like, I hate in regular acting, I hate the audition process. I hate all the stuff you got to do to get work. But for
Right.
some reason with voice, and I think it's because everything you have to do to get work is exactly like the job you'll be doing, if that makes any sense.
Hmm.
Like, so when you go into audition for a role in animation, back before COVID, you go into the studio, you get all, like, geared up, and you go through the script, and that's what the job is, right? Like you're
right. You're reading the script.
yeah, and in acting, it's nothing like what you'll be doing on the day. Like say it's like, all right, okay, you get into the audition. One, they're always behind by like half an hour minimum, so you're sitting there waiting, and your energy levels just like, so by the time you get in there, you're like, hey, you got to put on this like, I'm over exaggerating, and then you get in the room, it's like, all right, okay, so you're a scientist, and you've been infected by an alien. You're lying on the gurney, and it's like exploding out of your gut, okay? And you're just freaked out. So go. And you're like, oh, all right. But you're standing in a room with like 4 people watching, a guy behind the camera, and somebody reading lines, but they're just like this into the page, and you're like, all right, and you just come out of there feeling like an idiot. Like, what have I done? The best thing ever was a buddy of mine. We were going for the same thing, and he was in just before me, so we're sitting there kind of chatting, catching up, and he goes in. He's like, all right, oh, break a leg. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. And he comes out and he just sits beside me. And he's just looking like, nobody, I don't know and he kind of looks under the chair. He's kind of looking, I was like, what are you looking for? He's like, oh, I think I left my dignity out here. I'm just trying to find it. And I'm like, oh, and then they call it, Fred, you're up. And I'm like, oh crap. And so, you go on, and you're just like, I know it sounds stupid. It's like, oh, poor boy, you get paid to pretend for a living. But it's, it's like,
oh, hey, no, I can relate in as far as getting put on the spot, the pressures of having the spotlight, and then saying, performing. That's tough to do.
Yeah.
Like I can, and I'll tell you what, just you telling the story, that I'm really, I made a career, trying to keep your emotions, and stay focused and stay in check. But that story gives me anxiety.
Oh, dude. And this is the thing too, because I was really a really shy kid growing up, and long story short, like later in life, I was having these issues and getting all this test work done, and I'm convinced I have heart problems and all this stuff. And long story short, it turns out I was having panic attacks, right?
Oh.
And so yeah, like you talk about anxiety, like I would just be like, I couldn't do theater because I would just be such a wreck. Like the idea of being there, like live, you can't screw up. And like, I would just have these, and then you keep going back like an idiot, because if you say you're on stage or whatever, and you get a laugh, and it's like a drug, right? Like it just,
yeah.
As I've gotten older, it's just like, man, it's just not worth it anymore. It's not worth the trouble I put my brain in. I know it sounds stupid talking about it, because I literally get paid to pretend, and I don't know. It's all the stuff outside of it that just it doesn't make it worth it anymore sometimes.
Hey, anxiety is real. Like it's a tough thing sometimes to be in front of a person and have to do anything, whether it's like you call it pretend, but like it still is, you're trying to get a job, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a level of pressure. Now you're being put in front of someone and you have to do a good job, even if it is quote unquote pretending. It's still something that you're getting put on the spot. And anyone who would criticize or be judgmental, all they have to do is look back at themselves during class in school, and when they used to have to get up in front of the class and talk.
Yeah.
And I would say the majority of people have a challenge with that. It's the one kid every so often that loves to get up there.
Oh, I know.
But the majority of us have issues with it. Like I remember, thinking about, doing interviews and looking back when I was younger, at some of the interviews, you could just tell like that there's a that's real. I don't care. And I'm a fairly confident person, but it's real when you get put on the spot. So I'm not judging at all when it comes to that, especially like I've always thought about, what if because acting could be fun. And I thought, that'd be something. I remember thinking back,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
The thing is,
I couldn't do the audition thing. I don't think I'd be good at that. I listening to that.
No, well, that's just me, right? Like you never know. Like I was always surprised I ever got booked. Because I would walk out and think, well, that was fucking shit. Like, you know, and like how, like, and it's so, I think I can honestly say this. All the ones I think I nailed, I'm like, I got that. I'm getting never get. And all the ones I thought I just like
bombed.
like, just like, oh my God, like I'm not I'll
Really?
book one of those once in a while. I was like, I have no idea. I just don't get it. I don't know. It is a lot of fun. Like if I could, and look, I'm talking like I hate it and I want to get out. And the reality is that it's not true. I like everything between action and cut is awesome. It's a lot of fun. And when you get on a good show with like Corner Gas for years, like, this is actually something I realized we had in common. You spent some time in Regina, and I spent, the better part of 6 years in Regina working on Corner Gas. But like you get on a show with a good crew, and it's like you love going to work, right? Like I love going to work.
That's cool.
It's the getting the work to go to that is I struggle with.
That's the one thing about having I would imagine being in a series as opposed to doing one film here, one film there. You must feel like a bit of a family, and you get to work with the same people. That must be cool.
Oh, especially with Corner Gas. It was family is like the perfect way to say it, because there were days where like I don't want to talk to you, right. But I feel really fortunate because I love everybody that I worked with on that show. And I'm not just saying that, like I consider them family. I don't know if they consider me family. I could be the cousin they hate, but we don't really keep in touch. Like we're not buddies, but whenever we do get together, it's just comfy. Like I miss it. And that's one of the great things about getting to do the cartoon is I get to play with them still every once in a while. So I was really lucky with Corner Gas, but so like it's you know what, I just kind of had a click. I realized I think I understand why you don't like playing goal anymore, because like if I being that where you'd show up to work and it's like this is my this is my family, and then when you get like, say, even if you get like a really juicy guest star role in a show, right, you show up and you feel like it's not my show. You don't know anybody. It's like going to a new school maybe, which is probably different than you playing beer league hockey, but
no, I totally get it. I totally get the connection between the two for sure. Did you ever, being an actor, did you ever consider leaving Van and going down to LA?
Yeah, I did. I went after.
Did you?
So I went. So we did Corner Gas, and then I did another show for 2 years, and then when that show ended, my agent's like, you should take a go at LA. And I was like, all right. So we did there's a whole bunch of pre-stuff you have, get ready to go, right? So we did that. I went down, and it was basically a really expensive 6-month holiday. Like it didn't work out. I got an agent down there, and I did everything I was told. I showed up, and I think I just got forgotten. Like I was just sitting there, and I don't have the get up and go to kind of, get on people's cases. Like, hey man, I'm here. Get me out. I'm just like, I assume people are doing their job behind the scenes.
Right. That's tough.
Yeah. So it was kind of, like I said, it was a nice holiday. Like I found a buddy of mine had a place down there. So I rented his place with a few other people. And it was just this like mansion in the hills of Burbank. Like it was huge. Like we all had our own like little suite kind of. It was beauty. Had a pool up in the hills. Like it was awesome. Like it was a great time.
Yeah.
But not good for the career. And then I come back and it's a weird thing in Vancouver. It's like you have to start all over again. And like that's really? Yeah, pretty much, like because most of my stuff is Canadian and most of the stuff shot in Vancouver is American stuff. They don't have any idea like your resume or what you've done, or very, very odd where like a American producer or director would come up and go, oh man, yeah, Corner Gas was great. Like, and if they're doing that, they're just probably, not to be like bitter or anything, probably the casting director mentioned, oh, he was on a show called Corner Gas. It was very successful. Oh, okay. And then like, oh yeah, I hear Corner Gas fantastic. Like you just, you don't know, like half the stuff you hear, you can't, it's weird. you don't know how much is genuine and how much is just bullshit.
Yeah.
You get paranoid about that, right? Like, you just blowing smoke up my ass. It's like, oh wow, he thinks I'm a big deal. Like, you don't know where you're going. Like half the time, it's the mind fuck.
The entertainment business, like your guys' field, that's a tough gig, man. I had my first guest I had on was comedian Ian Bagg, and he's from Terrace, BC, and he did the whole rounds. You know, did Terrace, Vancouver, New York, LA, and then he's been in LA for a number of years now. But he went through all of his ups and downs, and it's a grind, man.
Well, it is a bit of grind. It's mentally tough for sure. Like there's people that can do it. Like they're so great at, I don't know how they do it. I wish I had it. I wish I had the ability to just play the game, right? Like just do it. Like this is what you got to do, so do it. And I'm more of a, if I can't play the game and I can't change the game, okay, I'm just going to get out of the game. Like, like I don't have the fight. I wish I had the fight. Like, cause like I said, I love working. I love being on set.
Yeah.
But I just don't have the goods to grind it out. I guess I wouldn't be a good grinder. I'd be a prima donna. I'm like, it's too hard. I'd be like that, that guy who would drive people nuts on the team. He's like, he's got all the skill in the world. If he just put a little effort into it,
right?
That'd be me. I'm like, but I say that's not true, because in lacrosse I had no skill, but I was a grinder.
Well, my son said that the first thing when I mentioned that I was having you on, my one boy, he was like, "Oh, he's the best thing in that whole show."
In Corner Gas?
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Could he talk to my mom? Because my mom thinks the old guy, he was like, oh, Oscar's my favorite. Like, I'm not your favorite? It's like, oh, no, Oscar, I just love Oscar. Like, oh, Mom. Well, tell him, thanks very much. I appreciate it.
Honesty. Moms are always usually...
Yeah, there's no bullshit in my family.
That's awesome.
I'm sorry, you're just not the funniest. No, you're good. You're just not. That's not how my mom talks. I don't know why I'm talking like that. My mom and dad grew up in East Van. That's why. So they kind of grew up. There's no bullshit with.
Yeah, people. I was gonna say East Van. They're real.
Yeah,
yeah,
and it's kept its, for the most part. Like East Van is still a very real section of Vancouver. Like all the stereotypes that you get from the other parts of the country, people think about people from Vancouver. It's like you'd like East Van. Like East Van would be cool. Like Commercial Drive. It's not as strong Little Italy like it was when I was a kid, but it's my favorite street in Canada I've ever been to, and I've been to some pretty cool streets. Like White Avenue in Edmonton's awesome.
Right.
George Street in Newfoundland and St. John's is amazing, but it's got nothing on Commercial Drive, to me.
George Street. I before I was in LA, I worked with Winnipeg. And I was the development goaltending coach, and I stayed in St. John's a lot of the time when working in the development role. And so Newfoundland, great people, great people. Like you do that bar scene there, and it's like one big family, not just the one bar. Like you could go in any of them.
I got a pretty wicked bar story from my time in Newfoundland.
Let's hear.
So, and this is like this, just to give you a little idea. And there, I could list multiple stories of how incredible the people in Newfoundland are. But this one, so I was doing a show out there, and again, I didn't know anybody, and they're like, "Oh, hey, we're going out to the pub. It's this little pub. They showed me how to get there, and it was really cool." So like. There's some of the streets, like the lower street. Is it called Front Street? I forget.
I don't know. I can't remember.
Anyway, and then
I know where you're talking about.
There's these steps that kind of go through like the buildings to the next street up. Couple spots. Yeah, and there's like in some of them there's these doors. They're not really labeled. Like it's just a door. It's like, yeah, go up this step, and then there's a door. Go through the door. That's the pub. It's tiny, and it's sure it was really cool. You go through this door. I'm like, oh, and there's this really cool little tiny pub, right?
That's totally know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and so we were one of these places, and I wish I could remember the name of the place. Tiny, but there's probably, it was packed. So maybe I'm going to say 100 people were there.
Mm-hmm.
The place is packed. And not all of us were with the show. Like there may have been like 20 people with the show. And then the rest were just people there having a night out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I go up to the bartender. I'm like, hey, listen, over here, some of us, I want to buy my group around. Can you open up a tab just for my group? And he's like, oh, that's real nice. Yeah. I'm like, oh, it's kind of standard. You know, you want to buy your group around. So yeah. He rings this bell and the whole place stops. And he's like, hey, this guy's here. He's buying everybody's drink for the night. And I'm like, what? And like, he's like, I'm screaming. I'm like, oh, what's going on? What's happening right now? And I like for the whole night, I'm just like, it's just turned into like, I can't drink anymore. Like literally 3 beer. And the next day I'm a mess. But back then I was still partaking. Right. And we're just like, everyone's like, oh, you're like all these friends. And then like at the end of the night, I'm like, oh my God, like this is like, this was a low budget film I was doing. I wasn't making that much. And I go up to him and the guy, it's getting close, like 2 in the morning. And I'm like, I should probably settle up with these. Oh, okay. And he gives me the bill and it was like 100 even.
What?
$100 even. I'm like, are you, he's like, you have a good night? I'm like, I had a great night. I gave him $100 and that was it. I'm not kidding. That's like a legit true story. And I was just blown away. I was like, how much money did you lose tonight? Like, well, that's just like, I don't know. Or unless everybody was in on the joke and they were buying their own drinks. I have no idea. Like, I don't know what it was, but it cost me $100. I was a hero to all these people, or they were pretending. I could have been the biggest cat, like,
maybe that's the thing they do every time.
Maybe it's like they either kiss, if they like you, you kiss the fishes that think you're a knob. They make you think everybody likes you. That's probably it. I was like CFA. Like somebody told me, have you heard that term, CFA?
No.
No, somebody Brian, the driver who drove me to set every day. He's like, because we were talking about townies and Bayman, and I'm like, well, what's the difference? Oh, townies, if you're born and raised in like St. John's, you're a townie. If you're born and raised anywhere else, you're a Bayman. And I'm like, oh, so you're like so I grew up in Port Moody, so that means I'm a Bayman. He's like, no, you're CFA. I'm like, what? He goes, CFA. If you're not from Newfoundland, you're CFA. I'm like, well, what's that? He goes, well, there's 2. There's the good and the bad. And I'm like, which one am I? He says, oh, you're the good. You're come from away. I'm like, oh, what's the bad? Complete fucking asshole. And I'm like, oh, I'm glad I'm not that one.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. It's funny. In Newfoundland, when I was with Winnipeg organization, I'd already stopped drinking back then for a little while anyways, after I retired. And anyway, so I wasn't drinking anymore, but I had one night there. I would go out and we took it to the team went to the conference final in the American League, and the series, and sorry, not the conference final, went to the final. What am I saying? And we lost in the final to Texas Stars, and it was done. And what a great season the team had and whatnot. And so I went out with this staff, and then one assistant coach and I, Mark Morrison, good buddies, and just got into I went with it, because it was cool. Like I quit for me, not because I felt I had an actual addiction, but I thought, what the hell, this was special. And we went to all those places you talked about, and just there's so many of those places there. Like you talk about the whole holes in the wall, and he knew of all of them already. So like he'd walk in and they knew us, and we did all these little places, and it was so cool. That's probably what got me going, because I was always a drinker for the moment. Like it was the party that got me
right
going.
Yeah.
And that whole vibe there, everyone in every single bar you went to, they made you feel like they knew you forever. Like hey, and they'd welcome you, and you go to the next place, and it'd be the exact same thing.
Yeah,
It was so awesome there, so awesome.
everyone I met anyway, you felt a real, it was genuine. It felt genuine anyway, like
Hmm.
the friendly, the kindness, and um, we even like my wife and I even drove across. We drove across Canada, so we went back to Newfoundland, and we stopped in Corner Brook because somebody said, "Oh, Liz and Ernie are expecting you. Give them a call when you get to Corner Brook." I'm like, "Who's Liz and Ernie?" I don't know who Liz and Ernie are. I'm like, I tell them, we gotta stop. We gotta call. They're expecting our call. We gotta call them, and so we get to like, I think it was a petrol can and like on the highway, and we're like, "Hi, Ernie? Yeah, it's Fred. Oh, hey, we've been expecting you. Where are you? We're up. Oh, okay, Ernie's. Yeah, I'm gonna come up there. And I'll guide you down to our place. We've made you brunch." I'm like, "What?" And they're in their kitchen. They've made this huge spread, and then
Way.
the whole day they're taking us to every corner of Corner Brook, and yeah, like we've known them forever. Like it was awesome.
Yeah, it's a great part of the world, man. It's
And it's like completely different planet from any
oh,
other place in Canada. Like
totally.
it is it's gorgeous, but
Yeah,
like rugged and
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's you know what I really believe it's a really one of the best kept secrets. Not a lot of people know about it and how nice the people, how nice the place is. The only thing that blows, man, is like I used to base in Vancouver and then travel to all the different places where the development was needed. So I'd spend 2 weeks in
Oh,
St. John's, and then I would go fly to elsewhere and whatnot, back to Winnipeg or wherever. And the trip there is a
oh,
joke.
it's like I don't know. So you fly the one. So when I was doing that film, I hate flying too. Like
Oh,
any chance to avoid a flight, I'm on. Like I used to drive back and forth to Corner Gas every year because I didn't want to take the flight. Like
no way.
yeah, which is all right because I love road trips, and it was actually I always looked forward to the road trip out, but couldn't do that to Newfoundland. Like that wasn't gonna happen. And the first flight in, it was the wind was something fierce,
Oh,
and
if you hate flying,
oh god, like and it's the airport there. I don't even know where it is exactly, but it's on top of a bluff or something because you're coming in from the ocean and the engine was like struggling. Like so you hear like when the engine like it's calm and then it's like it gives and you're like oh and then it dies down and you're like oh my god and the plane's like kind of being bounced around a bit. So you're looking out the window and you see ocean and then you just see rock and you're like oh god and you see oh and I just imagine the pilot just kind of like sweating and just like oh like Jesus Mary and Joe like just oh my god will they make it. It's a oh god it was a stress ball. Oh my god just reminded me of it.
I did it so many times and I mean I'm an easy flyer. Like not a lot gets me rattled. It has to be really bad. Like we got to be nose diving down for me to think that we're in trouble. But every time, like so many times, we'd be flying into that airport, and we did flybys all the time because they're like, yeah, that's not safe. So
Oh
they'd pull up, and you're like, you're coming down, you're thinking you're gonna land, all of a sudden it goes back up, and people are like, what the hell? People crying and
that was the last time actually I was on a flight where people cheered. I remember as a kid because we used to go to we went to Disneyland a couple times and Hawaii a couple times, and I think maybe our generation is the first generation where people stopped clapping when the plane would land. Do you
yeah.
ever remember that?
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah, and so it haven't happened for years and years and years. That flight, everybody like just like standing ovation.
But that was like more like thank God you got us down alive.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I remember those flights, man. That's a strange place to go into. It's almost like it felt like the Bermuda Triangle type of airports where like it's just different than everywhere else. All the other airports, and then there's St. John's, and like you got to be a special pilot to get.
right.
You got to have a special license to fly into St. John's Airport. It's nasty, man. Nasty. I was going to ask you, Fred,
Yeah.
back to your goaltending.
Okay, good.
Back to your goaltending, and I didn't want to forget this because I know we were talking about other stuff, but it's been on my mind. When I was looking up, you added me just the other day on followed me on Twitter.
Yeah, is that creepy?
No.
I was like, oh hey, there's Dusty. I was like, it's literally like, this is how stupid I am. I was like, oh, is it gonna be weird if I you know what, fucking I'm gonna do it. And then I did it. And it's kind of like when you liked a girl back in the day before there was call display or anything, and you'd let it ring, and then you'd hang up real quick. It's like, oh no, maybe I shouldn't, That's not what it was like. But now I've made it creepy. Now I've made it awkward.
So anyways, I was like, hey, Fred followed me. Cool. Followed you back. So I looked at your account and you put in your own bio. So this isn't me. And I said it in your intro when I introduced you. Yeah. I said mediocre beer league goaltender. And you wrote that in your bio. So I want your honest opinion. And this, and if you want some, I'll give you some free tips. Free of charge. Well, but I want to know your honest
prefer to get on the ice and get those tips, but that's all right.
I want your honest opinion of your goaltending. How are you?
I'm better than I let on.
Okay.
For my level. Like, we're talking about the level I play.
Okay.
Right? Like, I'm going to be 50.
Yeah.
And I'm still playing in the 19 plus division.
Oh,
and
cool.
I'm consistently, our team is usually, well, lately we've been bottom of the standings, but and I haven't played in a year, which is driving me crazy. I oddly, I'm a better goalie now than I wasn't when I was a kid, and it's because you didn't get, like, when I was a kid going through minor hockey, we didn't get training, right? Like,
right.
My parents, the last few years I played, before I got to midget, like, they sent me to, Paul Fricker?
Yeah, I know Paul.
Yeah. So back in the day, he used to have Northwest goalie schools.
Mm-hmm.
So he'd do a summer camp. And so you go there and you'd learn how to do the bouchard, he called it. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
It was like paddle down, one on knee, one paddle down.
Yeah.
That's what we worked on, the bouchard and shuffles and, shuffle from the red line to the blue line, shuffle back, like that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I mentioned I had a buddy who's a goalie coach. I grew up with. He's a Port Moody guy, and so when I told you I got back when I was in my 30s, I was like, I got the bug again, but I'm terrible. I'm getting lit up. Like it's I want to keep playing, but I'm getting angry because I'm getting lit up. And she's like, okay, I'll bring you, I'll show you some of the new stuff and all that stuff.
Right.
So it was funny. He goes, okay, show me your stance. And I get my old, and he's like, oh God, all right. And so he's got me, and now I'm a nerd for all new technique and all that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So I actually think I'm better now than I was when I was a kid.
Cool.
Plus with the equipment, like, I don't feel anything. Like, rarely you feel a stinger, right? Like, rarely.
That makes a difference.
It makes a huge difference. Like 90% of my saves, I don't like, it's an audio podcast, but like, you can see me, but like 90% of my saves when I was a kid, if it wasn't coming to any of my gloves or anywhere I could kick out with my skate, it was like this, clinching up, like, oh God, doing everything I could to either get out of the way with it or just like, just accept the fact this is going to hurt. Whereas now it's like, yeah, I want to get my body in front of it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Come on, buddy. I'll say this about where I'm at as a goalie. Okay. I've been to the finals 5 times now.
Yeah.
And I come away with 3 championships.
There you go.
So you can't take those championships away from me, Dusty.
Fair enough. That's fair enough.
Oh, and I was
champion.
I held my own. Over the last few years, I've had, and this is the thing I probably in my hockey life I'm most proud of, as I got to skate. Now it's just like a stay in shape skate for the Canucks alumni. They would do. I think I was like 5th or 6th string when they need a guy, like when one of their guys can't go. And so I've probably close to a dozen times I've been on the ice with those guys. And I, other than the first time, I kind of hold my own. Like, I make
That's
some
cool.
saves and, yeah. So it can't be
That's
that
probably
bad.
a cool rush for you,
Oh, the first time I went out, phoned my dad. I'm like, Dad, I'm skating with the Canuck Alumni. He's like, what? He's like, him and his buddies came down and watched.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
the day I was there, like, guys, Dave Babbage was there, Yurke Lume, Cliff Ronning.
Yeah.
Like, I was just like, oh my, like, holy crap, like, I'm on the ice with these guys, right? It's like, and I always forget his last name, but maybe you know him, the old defenseman, Eddie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, a super cool guy. So beer league guy comes out, and these guys, some of these guys are in their late 50s, early 60s. Eddie, I think, is in his 70s.
Yeah. There's a couple old ones.
But they like Lofthouse, for example.
Mark is my uncle.
Is he?
Yeah.
Seriously? Oh wow, he's a wicked dude.
Yeah.
He can fire the pucks. Like, he can still get, like, it comes over the blue line and it's top corner.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, that was his bread and butter.
Oh, and so I get lit up a few real quick. And one gets by me, and Eddie's standing beside the net, and he pulls the puck out of the net, and he goes, hey, I think you think you're a bigger goalie than you actually are. And I'm like, yeah. Cause the shot comes, I drop to my knees, and, it's like, bing. It's like, oh, guys I play with usually can't elevate it that quickly. Like, Lume scored one on me. He was literally less than a foot in front of me, and he backhanded it top corner. I'm like, how is that even geometrically possible? How do you do that?
How about Cliffy?
Oh yeah. I made the mistake of stopping Cliffy once, and then that was it. Like, it turned on the Cliffy juice.
Yeah.
And, like, he was determined to explain to me, look, you don't belong here, and I'm going to prove it to you. He's very competitive. He's a wicked guy. Like, I want to take it, like, in the room, he's super friendly, nice, but on the ice, it's like, it's like, nope, this is hockey, this is business, and I'm going to rip you a new one because you're the goalie. And he's still got it. Like,
anybody. I told you earlier, I skated as a forward once I retired for years with the Canucks alumni. And so I know all those guys, but it was funny. Everybody would be out there for a good time. And then there's Cliffy.
Yeah.
He just wanted, it's almost like someone was in the stand secretly keeping stats, because he just wanted to rack up the score and put points on the board. And he would stay out the whole game.
Oh.
It was funny.
He's got the goods, though. He can play. Yeah, it was pretty funny. Like, there was an argument once about the score, and and I had a pretty big grin on my face watching it all go down. Like, it would
always be Cliffy and Wayne Van Dorp. They would just go at it all the time about what the score was. No one else cared except those guys.
Van Dorp's I ran into him at a pub out in Coquitlam, and he came up to me. I was just blown away. He was like, "Hey, Freddie!" Like, just from, like, I'd only been out there a few skates, and I'm like, "Oh, hey, that's cool."
Yeah, there's a bunch of great guys there.
Oh, they were all like, Yurke Lume we talked a bit after one skate, and same thing. Whenever I come in the room, he would always kind of make a point of saying, "Hey." Dave Babbage too always would. I've talked to him a few times out here, and they're out and about. Like, I ran into him a couple times at Coquitlam Express game, and he always had time to sit and talk, and just a really nice guy. Like, just a awesome guy.
There's a bunch of them like that. Did you ever meet Mac before he McElhargy?
Yeah, I just in passing.
Yeah,
I had the opportunity to talk to him once or twice.
Cool guy.
Briefly, really nice guy. His brother too, I didn't realize, which used to run the Express. They had a like Express dinner where they raised money for the team, and he would MC it every year.
Yeah,
super nice guy too.
Yeah, and Orland, he was awesome.
Oh, I never got
Kern
to. I
back.
never got to meet.
Yeah, there was
Him.
a bunch of great the older alumni, some
Yeah.
really nice guys, and it's different
Uh,
too meeting that era because they have a different vibe about them, than the newer one. And I'm not saying the Cliffies and stuff aren't great guys too, but it just was neat to be sit down in the locker room and have locker room talk with some of the older ones.
yeah.
It was really cool.
Yeah. I definitely feel like an outsider, but but it's even being after the skate, just sitting listening to all those guys.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. It makes me feel like a kid again. Like this is exactly how it makes me feel. My dad, from most of his life, he worked for BC Transit. But when he was young and when I was like very very young, he still worked at this pub that doesn't exist anymore. This nightclub called Pharaohs. It was down in Gastown, and it was a popular place with a lot of the Canucks back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know that, but one day he took me to a game in the old Coliseum, and we're walking through the foyer, and my eyes light up because Harold Snips was walking towards us,
Oh, cool.
and I just like I don't get starstruck. In my Well, if I met Robert De Niro, I'd probably get starstruck, but generally I don't really get starstruck.
Right.
Unless it's a very limited number of hockey players. Most Canucks from when I was a kid.
Right.
And probably like if I met Hextall, I'd probably get all blah, 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 blah. But Harold Snips was definitely, because Harold Snips was a god back in the day for Canuck fans. For my group of buddies anyway.
Right.
And so I'm like, oh my, like I go to my dad, I'm like, oh, before I could get out the words, that's Harold Snips. Harold Snips goes, Billy, to my dad, and comes and gives my dad a big bear hug. And I'm like, and then I'm looking at my dad. I'm like, my dad is cool. What? Like, I did think my dad was cool. I still think my dad is cool. But that's what I felt like in that room. Cause there's Dave Babbage and Yurko and Cliff Rodney and, all the guys. Like
That's pretty cool.
It is.
That's pretty cool. It's funny because the goalies that would play for the alumni, none of them were goalies. Like as far as Canuck goalies or pro goalies.
Yeah.
But you could tell when they were in the net, like they were giving her because it was a rush, to be able to play with those guys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Binger, who plays, Binger?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just know him from being at the skates and stuff. But I don't know what he played. I know he played pretty decent level, but I don't think he ever played pro. Did he play pro?
He played pro. But
did he? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
he did. I forgot about Binger. He's actually the only one that.
Right. But I remember the first skate I went to, he was the other goalie.
Oh,
and
really?
I remember seeing him and I hope this doesn't come across like, because I thought, oh, I'm at least as good as that guy, right? I can't be any worse than that guy. And then you realize like, oh, I'm nowhere near as good as that guy. Like he's older than me, but he knows how to play. He's played, right? Like I haven't played, he's played. And when you realize that, like every once in a while in beer league, a guy steps on the ice, like a ringer comes out, and they just have an aura about them, the way they skate, the way they handle themselves. You're like, oh crap, that guy's played. Like, like he's just.
As far as you mentioned all your Canuck goalies that you like, do you go back as far as the Kurt Release or is it more you said Richard Brodeur, but what about Glenn Hanlon?
Oh yeah, Glenn Hanlon, absolutely. Glenn Hanlon was one of my favorites until Richard Brodeur came along.
Right.
And I actually have a signed Glenn Hanlon stick from when he was with New York.
Oh, cool.
And I got a signed Brodeur stick. And so those are the guys I really remember. Like, but there's a old picture of me in diapers, maybe not quite diapers, but very, very young, and watching, like glued to the TV. And it's a close up of Gary Bromley.
Ah,
yeah. So
he had a cool mask.
Yeah, maybe arguably one of the best of all time Canuck history. Kurt Ridley's was
I was gonna
awesome.
say for me,
Yeah.
Kurt Ridley's mask was the shit.
Yeah,
I love
yeah,
that.
I agree.
Cross sticks.
So simple, so awesome.
But yeah,
John Garrett's was awesome too with the skate one with just super
yeah.
simple, the two lines down to make the upside down V.
We did a Canuck Alumni skate. We played before the Canuck. The Canuck had the skills comp
Oh yeah,
at Rogers, and we played a game before the skills comp, and so there's legit like 12,000 people, and they sold
oh wow,
they sold tickets to it, and so they're like going out to see the Canuck Alumni, and there's a handful of us that aren't ex Canucks, and John Garrick decides to put the pads on as one of the goalies, and he hadn't played in a long time, and he had this old shit gear.
oh no,
and old gear and his original mask
oh yeah, oh.
on. like I don't care, like you haven't played in a long time, you're older, you have this old mask on, pucks get up there by accident.
Yeah,
You're not going to be able to block that from your face, man. But it was pretty funny because I don't remember him being that small.
How tall is he, you think?
Oh, he can't be five. If he's 5'7" on a good day, maybe 5'6". Like he looked tiny, and he had old gear on too, so he didn't look. It was like, man, that just shows you back in the day, like how much net you didn't cover from your gear.
Right. Well, that was more the norm, right? The little guy was in the crease more often than not.
Oh yeah. Well, for sure. And Imoo.
Yeah, I'm 5'9" on a good day, so I don't, the gear now I take up a little bit more net, but not.
Yeah.
Much.
Well, I'm the same height as well, and whenever I go in net, like in the American League or whatever, in practice, it's kind of funny because to this day, even when I skate, I don't feel small. Like I just know where to play as far as my positioning and everything. But then I'll watch some video or something that they put on television or whatever that Dusty played or whatever, and I'm like, holy fuck, I'm tiny, man. I must have this delusion of myself that like I feel like this big tall goaltender, but man, when I watch myself back on tape, I'm like, holy shit, I'm that small.
How tall are you?
5'8".
Oh, so we're about the same.
Yeah,
I could have played pro. You telling me I could have played pro?
Players would always joke about it because they see me, or because they're so used to seeing big guys, they don't see guys 5'8" anymore in the net. But I can still give them the glove and take it away. But it's pretty funny when you see yourself and how much bigger guys are now. It's nuts. It's nuts, man.
Yeah, there's that great picture of Darren Pang and is it Ben Bishop? Yeah,
it's Bish.
Oh, it's hilarious. It's like
and they swapped
Pang
gear.
looks like a hobbit.
They swapped gear.
Yeah,
that's what made it look even funnier.
Yeah,
because it looked like Bish literally had on soccer shin pads.
There's an image out there too with Carey Price wearing some. I think it's Jacques Plante's old gear or something similar to what Jacques Plante would have wore.
Right.
And you're like, oh wow.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy what the goalies used to wear back in the day. Well, hey man, where are we at here as far as
I don't know. Was I rambling too long?
No, that I love it like that. It's I'm glad you gave me the time to spared your time to do this for me. I had so much fun. I hope you had a half decent time doing it.
Oh yeah, no, I was looking forward to it. Like I said, it's I like talking goalie stuff, and whatever.
Well,
I mean, it's cool. I was jazzed to meet you.
well, who knows? Like while we were talking, I was thinking, you know what might be cool is if because I don't usually have on just goalies, like just to talk goalies, or like obviously I could have on Jack Campbell or Cal Peterson, or, Hellbuck or whoever, but I don't really want to just
Johnny name dropper there. Jeez.
but how cool this might be something cool. We could do a pod where it could be Dusty and you, and we could and
I'd be into it.
and interview some of these NHL guys, and but it would be kind of more fun that way because it wouldn't be their old goalie coach talking.
They'd have to deal with this dumb beer leaguer, like, man crushing on them all. Oh man, tell me what it was like to play in the finals with. Is that cool? Hey, do you tie your chesty in, or do you let it hang out? What do you do? Oh, that's what I do too. Oh, that's cool.
Probably like, what the hell? No, I think it'd be kind of cool. But anyways, hey, thanks a lot, bud. I really appreciate you coming on. And if there's ever a chance that maybe we can do something down the road here, maybe we can hook something up like that.
Oh, I'm in. And hey, if you ever get free ice and you need somebody to take up some of it, let me know. I'm just itching to get on the ice.
Well, hopefully we can get some of these rules changed and we get back to some kind of normalcy, and then for sure we'll definitely hook up regardless, and finally meet in person, man.
Okay, cool.
Thanks a lot, bud.
Thank you.
Peace to you. Right on. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed the first edition of the Secret Society of Psychotic Goalies. I want to thank Fred for coming on and being the first guinea pig into this idea. I had a great time talking with him. He's lots of fun. He's a really nice guy, actually. And I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed talking to him. If you want to check out Fred and follow what he's doing, you can check him out on his Twitter. And his handle, I think, is at Fred Ewanuick. And his Insta is at FredDieWanit. Anyways, that's it. That's all we got, man. I hope you guys all have a great day. And as I always say, stay safe, stay connected, and God bless. Peace out.